Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Sights on Sinnoh. My name is Will, and again with us on the couch we have Manny. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm ready to roark and roll.
Oh man, I love that. I did not see it coming. But yeah, if
Yeah.
you are new to this podcast, this is our Sights on Sinnoh podcast focusing on the Diamond and Pearl anime. And today, as Manny mentioned, we're introducing Roark, who is the Oreburgh gym leader. And this is because we're covering episodes 15 and 16 of the show.
An interesting fact: Roark is played by a voice actor named Alejandro Saab, who many people might know in Pokemon Journeys as Monarch Leon.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
plays
he came
Leon.
back after like
Yeah.
10 years?
Because he had sounded familiar, but I wasn't thinking about Leon. I was thinking about something else. So I looked up his Wikipedia, and yep, he plays Leon. Pretty
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, I had no clue. He I do you know if he's played anything else in Pokemon since Roark?
I know he's done additional voices, but I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure who.
That's fascinating because a bit of information about this part of the show. Rourke is actually in 4 episodes, which is actually a good amount compared to other gym leaders. So I wonder if that was partially why they brought him back or even got him on in the first place as a talent that is going to be there for more than like just 1 episode. And they're like, oh yeah, let's try this guy for Leon. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it could also be kind of like when 4 Kids had everything. Pretty
Hmm.
much every voice actor was in every one of their single shows. So it probably was like a bit of a deal where like, hey, if we need you for
Hmm.
something, we'll give you a call. Yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was a really cool. That was a really cool fact.
Yeah, I need to look more at journeys now and pay attention to the voice and compare them because that would be really funny. If like, oh, I
Oh
can hear the
yeah,
Rourke in there.
yeah. I think he probably sounds maybe a bit more different.
Hmm. Yeah,
Probably because
it has been a long time for
yeah.
sure. This episode is very much about Rourke as we learn about him and their characters learn about him. So to give the blurb for this real quick, for episode 15, which is titled Shapes of Things to Come, it goes like this. Ash and his friends have reached Oreburgh City, where Ash will try to earn his first Sinnoh gym badge. But Paul has beat him to the Oreburgh gym, and he'll battle gym leader Rourke first. If Rourke ever shows up. Rourke is also a mining foreman who's busy excavating for buried fossils and coal ore. In fact, Ash and company locate him just as he's uncovered another fossil find. The fossils he discovers can be revived at the local museum, which has Team Rocket sensing another great opportunity to score some Pokemon for their boss. Now, this is Ash arriving in Oreburgh City in the beginning, reaching the gym, which parallels a lot of the events from the actual games, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, how so? I haven't played the games.
Oh yeah, so in the games, when he reaches Oreburgh City, his rival, your rival in the game, if you're Lucas or
Oh,
Dawn,
okay.
your rival Barry is actually blocking the entrance, and he's saying, "Hey, Rourke is gone at the mines right now, and he's waiting for him to come back also." So I don't remember if Barry actually tells you to go to the mines to find him or not. But in this case, in the show, they don't tell him at all. They just say, "Oh, he'll come back." But Ash and his friends decide to go down themselves after they learn from Ash and the assistant slash referee at the gym that Rourke isn't there at the moment.
Fire Red, they do that as well, right? With Viridian Gym.
Yes, but
Is that
here it's
also?
pretty immediate where like you get there and they're like, "Oh yeah, go down," and then within 5 minutes you find him inside the mines, and he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
hi,
okay.
I'll be at the gym. I'll see you there," and he just like runs away.
That's funny.
But yeah, I was going to ask about that because I was thinking, how many regions are there where the first gym is the one that's just closest to you? Because again, like you mentioned in Kanto with Viridian City, Viridian City Gym is the closest to you from Pallet Town, but it's the last gym you go to. So I wonder if there's any lore where at some point that gym was supposed to be the first one, but it didn't because of Team Rocket.
I think Oreburgh is also the closest one, right?
Yes, that's true.
I did remember that.
And your dad's like, you're
Yeah,
not good enough. You have to come back later.
yeah, one of the only dads in the game. He's like, you know what? Not good enough yet. Come on, go somewhere else.
He doesn't even want to see you. I feel like all the other ones are in order.
I don't remember anything from X and Y.
That one was the bug gym, and I think it was like the second or third town
Was
from where you started.
And I think Galar was pretty straightforward.
I don't know. Actually, I haven't seen much of. Oh, you mean the games?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
yeah, the games. Yes.
Oh no, because the first one is the fire gym, but you can't challenge it yet.
Oh, that's right. Well, there you go. You see?
That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's like one of the consistencies, yeah, of the games.
Well, anyway, that's good to know. And Oreburgh is the closest to Twin Leaf Town, which is the beginning of this region. I was kind of expecting Roark to be more like, oh yeah, there's challengers. I'm like the first gym that's closest to the place where people usually get their first Pokemon, which is Sandgem Town at Professor Rowan's lab.
Probably feel like archaeology is his main love,
Mm-hmm.
just like with Brock and breeding. So probably puts effort or probably gets carried away and then forgets he's a gym leader.
Yes, you see here that when Ash and his friends get to the coal mines, he's trying to kind of talk to the fossil and form a connection with it. So he clearly has some love going on there for these rocks.
Yeah, he was talking to at the time we didn't know, but he was talking to a Carkol. That's my headcanon.
Oh, a what? Oh,
A Carkol. confirmed Gen 8 way back then.
that is interesting though. That this is both a coal mine and a
Fossil
fossil
site.
excavation site. I don't know how common that is in real life where there's overlap between the two, but now I'm curious to find out. But what I did like about this is that you get to see gym leaders that have jobs outside of their gym.
It's a pretty cool dynamic. Like I've always kind of wanted, was it called Pokemon Masters, where they had like mini episodes and they introduced I forgot his name, the main character for Gold with his Typhlosion.
Oh, Chronicles?
There you go, Chronicles. I've always wanted a Chronicles that focused on the gym leaders because I think knowing more of them just this is an appreciation for them.
Yes.
That would be cool to see.
Right, because for me, what makes it cool is seeing how the gym leaders are connected to that element or that Pokemon type through something other than just the battle. There's something that's in their life that keeps them interested in it as either a hobby or a career. And I think Gen 5, which is the one following Gen 4, does this really well in showing how pretty much every gym leader has an occupation outside of being just a gym leader that keeps them more in sync and more organically connected to their craft.
Yeah, that's a really cool aspect because we saw the difference in Kanto, how Misty stayed true to the water gym, whereas Brock, when he started out, he was a rock type gym leader, but decided to focus more on the breeder aspect. And I think that's why he didn't stay with just pure rock types. That's why he decided to catch various, because to become a breeder, you have to know what each Pokemon likes and dislikes and how it helps them out.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, like it's something we don't focus on at the time because we're kids. We just want to learn about the world and see who catches what Pokemon. But as the older you get and you kind of look for things to nitpick or things that you didn't recognize at first, it's a really good thing to appreciate.
Right. Like the first Pokemon that we see Brock catch when he first joins the team is a Zubat. We're just like, what? What?
Yeah, because we didn't even see when it happened, right? He just brought it out.
Well, he was in they were going to the team was getting to Mount Moon and they were just flying out and he just throws a Pokeball or something and
Did he? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember him just popping it out of nowhere and being like, what the? Okay.
Yeah, I might be wrong on that, but it's definitely kind of weird. It might also be because he already has most of the rock types in Kanto already, because he has
Yeah.
Geodude and Onyx. But yeah, I wonder if that's a bit of retconning that they're doing to show that Brock was always leaning towards this Pokemon breeder passion.
Yeah. And
But
and and
Mhm.
this battle, I really liked the way he was used.
Oh, Onyx, yes, I was going to say
No,
like
no,
it.
no, I'm talking about Brock as in with his intellect,
Oh, true, true.
showing his studies as a breeder, how they paid off during everything that he was doing during that battle.
Yeah, and before we jump right into that, to kind of catch our listeners up to how we got to the battle, once Ash, Brock, and Dawn get to the mines and find Rourke, they tell him, "Oh yeah, we went to the gym, but you weren't there, buddy. What's up with that?" Like, not that aggressively, but I'd
Yeah,
like to imagine Ash is trying to
yeah,
pressure him into coming back to the gym to get the battle done. But he's like,
yes.
"Oh, cool! I have two challengers already, so I'm gonna go and battle them." So he gets
Mhm.
back there, and Paul, who was just hanging out at the Pokemon Center because he told the assistant, "Oh, I'm gonna be there, so just I guess tell me when he's back." Arrives at the gym finally, and Rourke is like, "All right, let's go battle." And Dawn says, "Oh, cool! I want to like." I'm excited to see this. And Rourke's like, "You've never seen a gym battle?" Which to me was like, okay, chill. This is like again going back to the geography. I feel like you're gonna get a lot of those people at this gym who've never seen a battle because they're new trainers, Rourke. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes me wonder, like, who challenges him if he's caught by off guard, you know?
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, let's just go with it. But Rourke does ask Paul if he's okay with them watching, and he says he doesn't really care. And already there's been a ton of small interactions in this episode that really nail down the point that Ash and Brock that not Ash and Brock that Ash and Paul do not get along very well and are just getting on each other's nerves basically, mostly on Ash's nerves. But yeah, then we
yeah.
dive into the battle where we see a new Pokemon from Paul as he sends out his Azumarill versus Rourke's Geodude, which is the first match in the 3v3 battle.
Yes. And at that time, fairy still wasn't a thing, right?
Fairy?
Yeah, the fairy type.
Oh, no, no. Yes, Fairy would not exist for two more generations.
Okay.
Mm. You're asking because of Azumarill.
Yes.
Got it.
So I will say I didn't like this cold open. Just
Yeah,
uh,
I have to agree.
I don't know.
The cold open is near the very end of this battle,
Yeah,
and it's there's a lot of things also there where it's not something that's unexpected. It's just something that you're like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand how we got
yeah.
here.
I mean, if this was, how old was I at the time? Probably 14-year-old me, I'd probably be like, oh man, I can't wait to see this. But again, it
Mm,
just the timing of it. They didn't let it breathe. Essentially, I felt like they
hmm
should have left a little focus on Paul's face when he said, "Oh, this is exactly what I was waiting for." Give it like two
yeah,
second focus on it, and then go to the song. But it's like, "Oh, this is exactly what I was waiting for," and boom, the song
right.
hits. So yeah, it definitely left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But
Like
I mean, the
we
battle,
understand now that we're going to get to that point in the battle, but at this point we haven't
yeah,
even seen him bring out his Chimchar, so we're trying to figure out what that cold open still means.
yeah,
So here is where we start off with Azumarill and Geodude, and Geodude is of course 4 times weak to water, and throughout this whole battle, as you were talking about earlier, Don's kind of just asking Brock questions, and Brock's just also adding his own commentary about what's happening and how he thinks everything's going to go down, or what he would keep in mind as a trainer himself
yeah.
in this battle.
Yeah, I like that for the viewer they used Brock the exposition or
Mm-hmm.
allowing us to kind of learn from him about what's
Right.
going
Dawn
on.
is
Yeah,
clearly the new person here,
yeah.
but
But they did definitely had
Brock
in
is the way
mind,
that she's learning.
yes, and they definitely had in mind that there were new viewers, and then I think
Mhm.
with these being, 'cause this the first time we had seen Stealth Rock.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so it was definitely a good way for maybe somebody who hadn't picked up the game yet to learn the special abilities.
Right. Oh, that was a good point because I would say the biggest running theme in this episode is the word abilities
Yeah.
and just seeing them in battle because I think almost every Pokemon that we see someone comments, "Oh, that's their ability."
Yeah, while watching this, I felt like I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh!
How so?
Because I mean earlier Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't do this, but the more they got into later seasons,
Hmm.
it would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna attack your monster," and they'd be like, "No, you activated my monster's effect. Its effect, da 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 da." But then the other guy's like, "Ha, I was waiting for you to do that because now I can activate my monster's effect." It was just like that whole back and forth. It's like, man, this is exactly like you. Like, no, you activated my trap cards. This and that. But I really liked the battle. I like the music playing in the background. It added so much to that battle and made it actually got me on the edge of my seat because my thing was that, you know what, in my head I was like, oh, Paul is gonna lose and Ash is
Oh,
gonna win.
really?
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, Ash is gonna prove to Paul he's wrong about what he thinks.
Mhm.
And later on, when we go into what ends up happening, I was excited about how it turned out.
Okay.
'Cause like I said, man, just the way the back and forth, the way that Paul as a battler just, like he had the natural ability to
Mhm.
pick a weak spot and keep targeting it. And I feel like maybe as we get on more episodes, Ash will probably kind of add that to his repertoire because he might not like the
Mhm.
way Paul treats his Pokemon, but you can definitely tell he respects him as in terms of battling.
Yes, even at the beginning here, Ash is very much fired up about the battle and
Yeah,
criticizing Paul, but also learning from Paul very much at the
yeah,
same time. So as it starts, Dawn is like, "Oh, Zumero's gonna be good against Geodude because it's water, and Geodude is rock and ground." As she, I think, picks up from the Pokédex entry about it because she scans each of those since they're new Pokemon for her, and immediately Azumero's knocked out, like in 2 hits.
yeah. And I like that Dawn knows her general knowledge about Pokemon. That's
Hmm.
very cool. And 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 it just shows again, she's taking being a coordinator very seriously because her to have at least that much of common knowledge shows she may have probably thought about which Pokemon would be best for her future teams, as a kid daydreaming. I kind of like that she has that knowledge, but also she was able to learn that just because you have a type advantage doesn't always mean you're gonna actually be the one victorious.
Right. Like before her first contest, she was still struggling with using Piplup against grass types, like 2 episodes in a row against Badua and Turtwig. But now it seems like she's starting to catch on a little bit. Like, all right, I think I can memorize how
Yeah.
these work a bit more. But it is kind of brutal seeing Azumarill lose immediately without even doing any damage to the Geodude as it hits away the Hydro Pump using Hidden Power and then knocks it out with 2 rollouts. So, was this what you thought Paul was going to lose?
No, I just thought in general, like before even the battle started,
Mm-hmm.
it was gonna be like, oh,
It was more about these 2 characters kind of coming to their pinnacle point.
oh, I thought that this was gonna be kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a small lesson for Paul.
Oh, okay. He's gonna
Yeah,
learn something and develop a bit
yeah.
more.
But I
Yeah.
think I like that with the defeat of Azumarill because it shows Rourke has probably been challenged by a lot of water types. It's like, you know what, you might have a type advantage, but I'm no slouch. I'm a gym trainer for a
Yeah,
reason, and I take that time with my Pokemon.
and Paul shows that he's also prepared to do this. I'm at a type disadvantage, but I can still win
Yeah,
strategy. As he sends out his next Pokemon, which is Elekid, an electric type that's weak to ground and not very good against ground or rock. But he's able to one shot the Geodude with a Brick Break because Brick Break's a
yeah,
fighting type move that's super effective, but it was still very brutal in how he dove in and knocked it out immediately.
yeah,
And from
yeah,
there,
and
it kind of shows to Dawn, hey, even Paul, this time it was flipped to where Paul is at a disadvantage, but he still was able to beat his opponent.
yeah. That was kind of like a um like a one-upsmanship. I feel you got me, now let me get
Mm.
you. It just shows Paul isn't intimidated, or at least he won't. If he is, he won't show it because he's always thinking ahead. So I think that as a trainer,
Hmm.
it's kind of a good thing because Ash kind of lets a lot get to his head.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And here, Paul is very strategic on this. Once Geodude is sent out or knocked out by his Elekid, Rourke sends out his Onyx, who is going head to head with Elekid, and Elekid is just trying to stay on its feet by using Protect. And this is where, again, we get the introduction of Stealth Rock, as Onyx uses it to set up the field and make sure that any opposing Pokemon that Paul sends in are not, don't get in without consequence. They'll take damage if they come in. So from here, this is where you see Elekid still struggling to dodge attacks from Onyx, but this kind of pays off for Paul as you see that Elekid's ability Static takes effect, and he's able to paralyze the Onyx.
Yeah. That was again, just the whole Yu-Gi-Oh fanatic in me. Like, he hit it, but no, you fell for my trap because I
Right.
used my ability static, and I honestly, while watching this battle, I was
Hmm.
curious because I know um I like his future, so I know that what ends up happening. I'm not gonna spoil it because I don't want to
Hmm.
spoil Karina in case she's watching this series. But I was curious. I was like, because again, my mind was that Paul was gonna lose all three of them.
Mm.
And in my head, I was like, well, I know what ends up happening to his gym, and I know that with Azumaro's performance, he wasn't happy. I was curious to see
Hmm.
as to what would happen if in my head, his Elekid ended up losing because again, I know, what happens to that Elekid in later on. So that was definitely something that I was keeping my eye on. I feel like this is his favorite. I mean, and we can
Mm.
assume, right, that Chimchar is his starter, but I feel like
Well,
Elekid is.
that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. We do get that information later, but
Oh, okay.
for this point in time, I think everyone watching assumes, oh, Chimchar is a starter because we're in Sinnoh.
Okay.
Hmm.
I feel like him and Elekid are just so insane.
Yes,
Both mirror each other.
personality wise and everything for sure.
Yeah.
But then once we see that we have the paralysis on Onyx, Paul brings back the Elekid and brings out Chimchar, who takes damage from Stealth Rock, of course, with Ash is not happy about. He's like, why'd you he was like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Poor Chimchar.
Yeah. Chimchar is able to use Dig, as we learned from the battle against Turtwig, and
Hmm.
he puts that into play here, which is really nice since that's an effective move against a rock type like Onyx. And this leads to the second knockout, bringing it 1-3 with Roark having one Pokemon left, or 1-2 with Roark having one Pokemon left and Paul having two, his Chimchar and Elekid. So this is where we see Roark's ace come into play as he brings out his Cranidos.
Cranido, one of Pokemon that I'm a fan of, along with
Mhm.
Rampardos. I definitely love the design of both those Pokemon, and when he brought it out, I was definitely excited to see what it would do.
Right. It was a really cool fossil Pokemon, and I think it got a lot of screen time, which is nice.
Yeah.
I also definitely loved reviving fossils that I found in this game.
If I use it, it mostly has to do with either the cover Pokemon or
Okay.
with the fossil. That's always one of the major factors that plays into it.
But then you see the cold opening for this episode where Chimchar's ability becomes active, which means Blaze is now in effect. Now, Blaze is an ability that I don't think maybe once or twice we've seen active before, but this was where it very explicitly is a result of, the trainer let the Pokemon take a lot of damage, and now that it's low on health, Blaze becomes active. And this ability boosts the attack power of its fire type moves.
Did previous seasons focus as much on abilities as in this episode? Because
They really didn't. I would
I
say this season does a lot more with abilities than any previous season.
Yeah, because I do remember like when Charmander would power up its fire. I don't think they consider that an ability.
Yeah, I don't think they did, partially because they didn't exist yet,
Oh,
since
okay.
that was something that came later on. Gen 3, I do remember in some of Ash's battles, he would have his Grovile's Overgrow ability kick in.
Okay.
But this is a little more strategically used, where Ash didn't know that that ability was going to happen.
Yeah.
But here, clearly, Paul was planning for this. And Paul is also now using the boosted Chimchar to damage Cranidos' legs using Flame Wheel,
Yeah.
which it wasn't doing before, but now he specifically is asking it to target that, which slows Cranidos down, given that it needs its legs to run and use Headbutt.
Yeah, and I like that aspect because it's gonna tie into what happens next. But as a wrestling fan, this is what we
Mm.
call telling a story. They use a specific body part and focus on that to kind of tell narrative of will this affect the Pokemon later on. So I thought that was a really smart thing for them to
Right.
do, kind of like make you wonder, is the leg gonna be okay? Is it not? And going forward, yeah, I like that they had that focus on it.
Yeah, definitely. It was really nice that they're paying attention to this element of the
Yeah,
battles and incorporating it in. But it's not enough to save Chimchar as Cranidos headbutts and knocks it out, leaving it down to a 1-to-1 match between Cranidos and Elekid, which Paul brings out again onto the field, letting it take Stealth Rock damage because he cannot avoid that, unfortunately. But this is where you see, again, Elekid's static ability come into effect as Cranidos gets hit by that and paralyzed, but it's able to break through using Mold Breaker,
yeah.
which I don't believe is how that works.
No, but the anime always takes liberties with such things. But I liked also that
Yes.
they explained to us, Stealth Rock isn't just a one Pokemon.
Hmm.
I thought that was really cool because you see Don being like, "Wait, why is it still hurt?" And then Brock comes in and he gives
Hmm.
us the explanation.
Yes, he lets us know that Stealth Rock is a consistent move. It doesn't just go
Yeah,
away. And here we get more of Elekid going head to head with Cranidos, and then finally bringing the battle to an end after it tries to burn away Elekid using a flamethrower, which I think is a really
okay.
interesting move for Cranidos
Yeah,
to know, and I know why, because of what happens in the next episode. But Brick Break is able to break through and knock out the Cranidos, giving Paul the win, which leads to Roark giving Paul the cool badge, which he takes, and then starts to walk out of the gym with Ash first telling Paul, "Hey, aren't you going to stay and watch my battle?" Which is where the episode comes to a close. So what are your thoughts on this episode and this ending?
I liked the last part of the battle between Cranidos and Elekid, and again, I like that my prediction was wrong with Paul winning.
Mm,
It was one of those things again, using a wrestling term, where both of them gave it their all and looked so strong that it didn't matter who lost because both of those Pokemon ended up looking so strong and as such threats that I was okay with the outcome, and I like that it was kind of like a who's gonna faint first situation. Again, it just shows that Paul definitely spends more time with his Elekid, or maybe his Elekid has. I don't know what the word is because with Chimchar you can see that Chimchar loves
right.
Paul. Paul definitely tries its best. You can tell that Paul takes the time to try to train it as well because he wants strong Pokemon. But I feel like him and Elekid are more. And yeah, overall, this episode as a whole, I definitely enjoyed.
Yeah, I think I would give it like an 8 out of 10, honestly. The beginning is kind of slow
Yeah,
and a little weird in how Paul is kind of immature at some points, but the battle's really good. You get to see how someone else takes on a gym battle, which I don't think has really been seen, especially Ash's rival taking on a gym battle, because like
yeah,
you see part of Gary's match in Kanto, but not much else. What would you give this
yeah.
episode?
I'd also give this an 8.
An 8? Okay.
I like this episode as a whole, and it just made me forget about that awful cold opening. So if it can make me forget about that, then definitely high grade. And again, and just the music.
Mm,
Music always adds such intensity or whatever it is that the mood is. Music accompanying it just definitely added to the battle, made it seem more important than it should have been. Not that it wasn't important, but it just added more to that level. Yeah, I like that, your typical 10-year-old, you'll be a bully to your rival, but respect adults.
mhm.
I like that, he's kind of messed up to Ash, he still respects the adults because like when they told him, I'll be at the Pokemon Center, so let me know when Roark
Mhm.
gets here, and he bows his head.
Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely as someone who enjoys Pokemon battles, this was a really good battle.
Yeah, really solid battle for sure. I think it's nice that the first time we see something like this is with Paul, because
Yeah,
you'd expect it to be with Ash, but this is a nice change. It kind of shows how he's not just a side character. We're going to really see him develop in the same way Ash does, even though they are very
yeah.
different in personality styles and ideologies.
And I like that him winning left us with like, oh, okay, well, you did it. Well, sit back and enjoy the show because our boy Ash is gonna teach you a thing or two. I like that it left us with that
Mhm.
feeling.
Yeah. And that's where we're leaving episode 15 of the anime, which was Shapes of Things to Come, and lead us into episode 16, titled A Gruff Act 2 Follow. Paul has just won his badge at the Oreburgh gym, but he's reluctantly persuaded to stick around and watch Ash's battle the next day. Ash in the middle Ash is in the middle of strategizing for the match when he finds out that Paul gave away his Azumarill because it wasn't tough enough, which only makes Ash dislike Paul's style even more. Meanwhile, Team Rocket are touring the Oreburgh Mining Museum to get a closer look at its fossil restore machine, the key to their latest criminal plot.
I feel kind of bad because one of my favorite parts of the first episode was when they see Team Rocket literally just wearing a helmet
Mhm.
and they couldn't tell it was them. I thought that was just so funny. They were like, "Oh, excuse me," and they
Mhm.
turn around, they go twerps, and they're like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, nothing." But I mean, come on, you gotta know that's them. They're not literally just wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
I like when they do odd jobs because they change up their motto to let
Yes.
us know what they're dealing with. This model was pretty much them saying like, oh, to make machines, we need that money. So that's why we took this odd job.
Mhm. Yeah, I skipped over that a bit in the first one, but that's also where we saw Team Rocket learn about fossils and the fact that you can bring them back to life, which you would think people might know about in this world, given that we have all these like resurrected fossil Pokemon, but
Right?
apparently it's news to them.
Yeah. And was it in this episode or the previous where they show Armaldo?
This one, yes, because they are touring the museum at the same time
Oh,
that
okay.
Ash's gym battle is going on in this one.
So I was definitely happy to see it because that is my favorite Hoenn fossil
Oh,
Pokemon.
cool. Yes, I also
Yeah.
prefer that one. So,
I feel like Arceus is just telling you like give him these episodes and you'll see why.
yeah.
Because we've had Krogunk, we've had Scizor, we have Cranidos, and now Armaldo. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I love the fan favorites are making an appearance.
Yeah, and also liked that instead of just releasing it, Paul saw a young trainer and decided to give him his
Yeah,
Azumarill.
okay. So I was gonna say when you're saying the Meryl line, as specifically Azuro line, is one of my favorites, and then Paul immediately
Okay.
gives it away. I'm like, no. Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what happens. They're chilling at the Pokemon Center, and you see Paul go to Nurse Joy and pick up his Pokemon. And you notice how many Pokeballs he picks up from the reception desk?
Yeah.
2, right?
Yeah. Which I thought was weird.
Mm.
But then, we find out why.
Yes, I was watching this with a few of our other co-hosts, and I'm like, hey, know this? Like, pay attention there. You'll see like a small reveal there, which is that he doesn't have a Zoomer on his party anymore. And this kid runs up and thanks Paul, and Ash is already mad, and he's like getting psyched to go to the gym. He's getting his party ready, and confronts Paul about this, and he says, "Yeah, it wasn't tough enough. Like whatever." He's not phased at all by this.
Yeah. He might not have liked it, but Paul definitely made that kid's day. Just
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that kid really thinks too much of Paul right now because he has no clue. Paul's like, I just want to get rid of this.
Yeah, it would be like, the equivalent of maybe like your friend saying, "Oh, hey, I know you like Pokemon. I don't really play this that much, but here's my Pokemon Gold or my Pokemon Crystal for you if you want it." So, yeah, it might not seem like a big deal, but for that kid, it definitely was.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if he's a trader actually, because we've already run into into characters who aren't old enough to be considered trainers. So I'm like, did you get this parent's permission? What happened here? Because that kid seems a lot younger than Paul and Ash. But
Yeah, and it could be the case of maybe the parents got them that Pokemon just for them.
oh, just like here's your Pokemon, but not really. You're not allowed to train it.
No, kind of more like as in a
Yeah, right.
pet. You get me? Like, oh, in order for you to be ready to become a trainer, we need to see that you can actually take care of
Yeah,
this
that
Pokemon.
makes sense. I'd buy that. So from here, we go back to the gym where Paul is kind of reluctantly in his own corner in the audience watching the battle. And they actually talk about this beforehand, but Brock lets Ash know, hey, remember, only Turtwig on your team really has an advantage against rock types. He completely leaves Staravia out because he's like,
Oh
yeah, you're
man,
fly type.
poor Staravia.
Yeah.
Staravia was oh man, Staravia just decided to be emo in that poll, and Don comes in and is like, oh man, Staravia really likes to battle, and I liked when they did that throwaway line where I think she said he was worried, and then Ash was like, "On saying that is the reason why her mom worries so much."
Oh, really? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he does. 'Cause he quoted what her mom said when she left on her journey. John was like, "Don't worry about me." She's like, "You saying that is what makes me worry." I like that
Mm,
that they brought that up.
nice, yeah.
4-star radio, man. It got its dreams just crushed.
Yeah, it's already evolved, it learned aerial ace, but he's like, sorry,
Yeah.
you're benched. But then we get back to the gym where Ash starts off with, I believe, his
Apom.
Apom? Okay.
Yeah, it was Apom.
And it's against Cranidos, which is actually Rourke's ace that he saved for the end in this battle against um, Paul. But I'll get to that later because I have a question for you once we get to the end of this episode about that choice. But Apom is in there because he knows Focus Punch is a fighting type move that will do damage against rock types super effectively. So it doesn't start off well. He tries to use Apom's speed, but it's not enough as Kratos is just able to knock Apom out with a headbutt.
That was definitely just to show, I think, how strong
Mhm.
Cranidos is.
Yeah, and Kratos uses his flamethrower to take out the next strategy, which is Apom's double team, but he doesn't really do much given that Kratos is just fast and strong, and Apom's a cutie. He's like, oh, I think it's a she actually, but Apom is just not doing well here. Um, After like flamethrowers and more headbutts, Apom is just out, which I thought was kind of sad. I really thought Apom was gonna get some more time to shine here.
Yeah, and I liked how it did the setup for its focus punch.
Mm.
How it launches itself in the air and just rolls.
Hmm.
With you and I knowing, where Apom ends up, do you think that was a bit of foreshadowing?
Maybe. I think the next few episodes have a lot more foreshadowing, but this is definitely the setup for that.
Yeah, because I remember that it happened, but I don't remember what led to it.
Apom is definitely a Pokemon to keep an eye on in general in this series.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something I took note of. Yeah, I was kind of surprised because I definitely wanted to see what Apom could do in terms of battling as well.
Hmm. Yeah, we haven't really seen it in battles other than the contest battles, so um I'm very curious what people think about Apom, especially if people who didn't see when they first caught Apom in the last season. But this leads to the next strategy, which is Ash's Pikachu. Oh, this is where, of course, we're going to see Pikachu's Iron Tail come into effect, which is
Yeah,
cool because in Hoenn, when Ash went up against Roxanne in the Rustboro City gym, that's where he had Pikachu learn Iron Tail in the first place because he had
yeah, I
no other
remember
moves
that.
that were good against rock types.
Yeah, I definitely remember that training up.
Yeah, it's cool that he's like, all right, well, I learned from that, so now I'm going to use this. But Paul is not as interested in this battle as we are, I guess. After a few moves and Pikachu not doing super great against Krandos, he starts to get up to leave, and Pikachu loses it. It like launches Thunderball right into the air, and Paul's like in the doorway getting ready to exit, and he like stops and his face is just shocked at Pikachu's reaction. I
Yeah,
I love that.
I like that because just like with me seeing Paul and Elekid in sync,
Hmm.
same could be said for Ash and his people. Oh, it could be, yeah, because we've been on this journey with them for however many seasons that it was leading up to Diamond and Pearl. So, and I like that Rourke noticed as well, like Pikachu saying,
Hmm.
Pikachu defending its trainer is such a good
Hmm.
kind of the relationship. And obviously, Paul is interested in Pikachu because of when he saw, the damage that it did when he first saw its Volt Tackle. Definitely a good enough reason for him to stay and to see what Pikachu was capable of. Because it's also the reason as to why Team Rocket thinks that Pikachu is very rare.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah, because back in the Kanto episode when Pikachu was hurt, they got like a bunch of Pikachu. I don't remember where all those Pikachu came from. They got a bunch of Pikachu and transferred their electricity to Pikachu, which led to a really really huge thunderbolt. And because of all that power, Rocket assumed that Pikachu was a rare Pikachu, and that's what became their cause for as to why they want Pikachu.
Yeah.
I like that I like that they did that with Paul as well. Paul seeing the power that Pikachu has, and being interested in seeing how it would turn out.
I never thought about it that way, but that's a really interesting comparison there. Just like showing Pikachu's energy as a way of impressing people that that wouldn't have been a fan of Ash or Pikachu beforehand. Because this does convince
Yeah,
Paul to stay. He like doesn't say anything, but he
Yeah.
comes back down and
because
sits down.
yeah, we know that Paul loves power. That's what he looks for in his
Mm.
Pokemon. It definitely was something to keep his eye on.
Yeah, and then the battle continues with, I believe Pikachu managing to knock out Cranidos?
Yes, I think it used its tail the way that Apom launched itself,
Mm-hmm.
which I something that I always loved about Ash's battle style and his Pokemon. He not only does he learn as a trainer, but he learns from his Pokemon and adds that to all his other Pokemon. So Pikachu used the Iron Tent to launch itself to go under the flamethrower, which looked aesthetically like it looked so good, and that's how it took down the Cranidos.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm checking this here. It looks like he does a lot of damage to the Cranidos using Volt Tackle, but does recall Pikachu.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and Turtwig is the one
Yeah,
who did
because
the job.
Ash, not Ash. Roark had debuted Head Smash.
Right.
Yeah, which Paul noted too. Paul noted like, oh, he learned that move. So, do we know he replaced Headbutt with it, right? I think he
No, I
just
think he
used Zen
still has
Headbutt.
them. He has. Oh, he has Headbutt, Zen Headbutt, Flamethrower, Focus Energy, and Head Smash. So maybe he replaced Focus Energy with Head Smash. It could,
Did he use Focus Energy again? Was it against Paul?
yes, he used Focus Energy against Paul.
Yeah, I like that because I think if he had done Zen Headbutt, he jumped up and he said Focus Energy, and just like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was a cool visual. Yeah, I guess we can assume he replaced Focus Energy for Head Smash.
Which makes sense.
That's how the battle ends.
Turtwig is able to knock it out.
Oh yes, you're right because of the recoil damage.
Yes. Right, because
Yeah,
he has Mold Breaker, not Rockhead, which they made the note of saying during Paul's battle that Onyx will use moves like Double Edge, which usually damage the user, but because of Rockhead, it negates that.
Yeah, because Dawn had said, won't Pikachu take damage?
Mm-hmm.
Again, just showing her knowledge that she
Yeah.
knows what Volt Echo is.
She's picking up stuff for sure, because
Yeah, and Ash also using his smarts and saying, you know what, you took damage, come back here, take a rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very smart move. Paul might not have liked it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely a smart move to do.
Yeah. And then Roark shows that he's not letting Ash take all the IQ points in this battle with sending in Onyx and using Onyx's speed to keep him from landing any super effective attacks, even though Turtwig could do a lot of damage with Razor Leaf. And he's able to even use Double Edge again with Rockhead, as we mentioned before, to knock out the Turtwig using Double Edge. And that was also partially because Kratos used Flamethrower on Turtwig, which did a lot of damage. And now it's down to Ash's Pikachu versus the last two Pokemon that Roark has, which are Onix and presumably Geodude. So Pikachu's already exhausted because he was battling Cranidos. He did that Volt Tackle, as you mentioned, which caused recoil damage. And it's down to Onix and Pikachu's tails hitting each other with Iron Tail and Slam. But so far, only Ash is struggling because he knows that Pikachu can really only do major damage using Iron Tail because it's a rock and ground type. Which is like, oh, cool, Ash is thinking here.
Yeah.
And then again, they just aren't able to get in on Onyx as it uses Screech to stop Pikachu in its tracks from a quick attack, and then takes it out, which is just a sad ending to the battle because it looked like he was really turning around, but this is Ash's first gym battle and it's a loss.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I've always loved about the anime is that they take moves that probably
Mm-hmm.
most of us get rid of in the games. They just make them look so good. They make them actually do something, right? Like
Yes.
with the Screech, what we know Screech as is something that lowers the stat of your Pokemon. The way that they used it to protect itself from Pikachu, and it actually caused Pikachu damage.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked that about also Tail Whip was also the anime was used as a move, not just a stat change.
Right.
I've always liked that the anime does that because it makes those moves seem super super important. And yeah, again, like I said, I thought Ash was gonna win this, and just pretty much, you can pretty much say he lost, by a landslide because
Oh.
that cranny dose, man, was
Mm-hmm.
just
Too much.
a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, and his Onyx too. When we first introduced to his Onyx, I like that Brock having an Onyx,
Mm-hmm.
the realization of how hard that Onyx has trained, or how strong it was.
Right.
Yeah, this is definitely was a brutal battle to watch for Ash.
And a quick note here, that Screech strategy, keep an eye out because that comes out, it comes back a lot later on, actually. And I would say that this battle actually impacts a lot of the choices and development that we see later for both of these characters. But yeah, just a minor thing there. Screech is going to come back in a similar way in the future. But my last question here is: we saw the order of Roark versus Paul, where it was Geodude, Cranidos, or Geodude, Onyx, and Cranidos. And then for Ash, it was Cranidos, Onyx, and presumably Geodude at the end.
Yeah, we can assume that.
Do you think Ash would have won if Rourke had gone in the same order that he had gone with Paul?
You see that's hard to tell
Mm-hmm.
because we can maybe guess Ash probably would have beat Geodude.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I feel like the results still would have been the same because definitely had a hard time against both Cranidos and Onyx.
Yeah, my theory is that he would beat Geodude and Onyx, but would still lose against the Cranidos.
Okay, I feel like with knowing that Geodude new rollout, maybe he would have used Turtwig first, had gotten that
I think
victory.
he would have still led with Apom, actually, because we see him do that in the next battle that he has.
I did like that he changed it up.
Hmm.
I think it was smart of them to do that. It just shows that Rourke definitely doesn't take his opponents lightly.
It was definitely intentional because
Yeah,
I think they did it to show that Ash's battle was not a one-to-one comparison necessarily to Paul's, because if they did it in the exact same way, it would it would be easier to claim that Paul might be a stronger trainer given that they're facing the exact same opponent in the exact same way. But now
yeah,
it's a little more nebulous. It might be
yeah.
overthinking
But
it completely, but
no, you're good.
yeah, that's my idea. Hopefully,
Yeah. I do feel they definitely took writers definitely took a lot into consideration. They
mhm.
probably did feel like if we do it the same way, it'll probably be just a repetition of the battle, and maybe the audience won't like that.
Yeah.
Whereas if we switch it up, the audience will be intrigued. And not only that, but you can kind of go into it thinking, Ash had that exact game plan. It's like, oh, I know he's gonna start off with Geodude first, so I got this ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, and Brock caught on to that really well too. Like this is a good challenge for Ash to react to a surprise or something that he didn't see coming.
Yeah, be a little more prepared for things that he wasn't expecting.
I would definitely like that if the games did that as well.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, because I as a kid, there were definitely some losses with the game, especially in Sapphire,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't beat Walter's Milotic for five battles in a row. This is Walter, right?
No, the last gym leader in Hoenn for Ruby Sapphire was Wallace.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, Wallace. Yeah, five times in a row I lost to that Milotic.
Ow.
And yeah, it was those instances where it's like you need to stay up late until you beat this gym battle.
But yeah, this is where we leave off episode 16 of the Diamond and Pearl series, titled A Gruff Act to Follow. Manny, what would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna go with, this is definitely a hard one because the battle was definitely good. The fact that Ash definitely had a tough challenge, definitely something I didn't see coming. I liked the whole spiel with Staravia being rejected. That was a very funny moment. I feel like Team Rocket probably wasn't needed for this,
Mm-hmm.
but since you said it was a four-part episodes, right? So I guess you had to have their narrative for whatever comes. I'll
Yeah.
probably go with 7.5.
Okay.
Because I feel like All in Roark's battle definitely was better in terms of its intensity. Yeah,
Yeah.
7.5. Definitely a good episode, but I feel like the bat in terms of like the main focus of the episodes being the battles, Paul and Rourke's definitely was a better battle.
Right. I think I have to agree. I'll go with 7.5 out of 10 here. Because there was a lot of cool setup in comparison with Paul, and this was kind of the other half of that, where you got to see the strategies clashing and the personality type of both the trainers also being contrasted, but it's slightly weaker mostly because of Team Rocket's presence in it and not contributing a lot directly. And it's just a little shorter compared to what we saw in the previous one.
I didn't really like the fact that Ash lets Paul get into his head without Paul even having to lift a finger. Paul doesn't really care for Ash. He doesn't let Ash get to him. He's just focused. He has tunnel vision. He knows what his goal is. He needs to be Roark, and that's be done with it. Whereas Ash was just like, oh, sit back and watch, Paul. I'm gonna show you a thing or two.
Right, he cares a little too much about Paul's opinion.
He definitely had that overconfidence, and I feel like that definitely hindered him.
Well, yeah, two very solid episodes here, and I think a great introduction to gym battles, so we get an idea of what to expect moving forward, and how both of these trainers are going to fare as we continue through Sinnoh. Because, as I mentioned before, we haven't really seen much of Ash's rivals in the gym setting. You kind of just see them outside, but never really in the place that they're competing against. So it's nice to have that, especially in the first gym for this region.
And I hope later on, I would definitely love to see him have a female rival. I don't think we've had that for him. A female rival.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool for him to have that type of dichotomy. Because personally, I'm kind of tired of the female always having to be a contestant. But yeah, I definitely would like to get out of that trope that female always has to be the coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or just like another character who is in this party that does battle gym.
I definitely like. I'm gonna butcher her name. Karina, the one with Lucario,
Karina?
the gym leader, the
Yes.
fighting type. Is her name? Okay. I definitely like her as a character, and I like B as well. So I definitely love to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Rivals or as companions.
Yeah.
Someone that isn't your typical. Oh, I'm a female, so I'm gonna be a coordinator.
Not falling into that trope a bunch. Well, yeah,
That'd be cool.
that is basically it for us this week as we wrap up Sights on Sinnoh episode 16. Sorry, that's getting ahead of myself. Sights on Sinnoh episode 9, which covered episode 15 and 16 of the Diamond and Pearl anime. So thank you to everyone for listening, and thank you, Manny, for coming in today and talking about this awesome gym battle with us.
Yeah, definitely. Always a great time being here. As of this recording, I listened to the episode with Greg. Definitely thought it was a good listen.
Yeah, that's available now if you want to check it out, I believe. Or yeah, by the time this is out, go to Greg episode 3 of Seitan Sen is available.
Yeah, so definitely been enjoying this time. Can't wait until I come back to see who might join us. Yeah, man. We hope you listeners come along with us for the journey, and this is definitely. I'm definitely glad that I'm rewatching. I left it because I didn't like changes in the voice actors, but that's kind of not bothering me as much as I thought it would have
Nice.
coming back into the Diamond and Pearl series. Yeah, the battling is just really good, so I'm looking forward to watching more episodes.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because I remember talking to you earlier and you were kind of hesitant on jumping in with the new dub voice actors that took over during Battle Frontier, but I'm glad that you are enjoying it and also getting into the battles, which to me is one of the strongest parts of this season for sure.
Yeah, and I like that they added to the animation because the sub I think premiered a year before, and it's not as crisp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the lines are hardly visible, so they added like a double lining.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this came out 6 months after, or 5 months after it debuted in Japan.
Yeah, like I encourage you, just watch one episode. You'll notice the difference in it.
Well, nice.
Definitely a big upgrade.
Perfect. Well, yeah, go ahead and check that out if you can. But if you do want to catch these episodes in English, the dub version is available on watchpokemon.com for free if anyone wants to check them out. Episodes do rotate through there, so catch them while you can. And we will catch you next time on Sights on Sinnoh episode 10, featuring the finale of this Oreburgh City gym battle arc. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you then. Bye.